Hi there.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for joining
Yeah,
me.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I'm super thrilled to have you join me for these conversations. Side note, I know I messaged you, but I really loved your piece for the SAD workshop.
Oh, thank you. They were so
Oh
great.
my
It was so fun
gosh.
working with them. Like it was 25 boys from age like 15 to 18, and it was so fun. Like
Yeah.
such a rare experience as a female choreographer to
Yes.
work with that many guys. So it was fun. Yeah.
Yes, yes. The talent and just beautiful to watch and to watch their motivation through it.
Hmm.
I was so inspiring.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was fun.
So,
Yeah.
Emily, I would love for you to start us off with an introduction about who you are and what you're up to these days, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a soloist with New York City Ballet. I also, it's usually in our off time, my husband and I have a production company, KW Creative, where we do dance films for, anyone. Something that we started many years ago, but has more formalized since COVID,
Mm.
obviously, because we all needed so much content. Um, yeah, and other than that, I'm just, trying to stay healthy, happy, and part of the dance world.
Yep, I love that. Can you share a bit about your journey through your professional career, particularly in regard to your relationship with dance, and if you've had major shifts just along the way?
Shifts in my dance career.
Yeah, shifts in like your relationship with it
Mhm.
and from joy to maybe teetering into overwhelm,
Oh, for
any
sure.
challenges.
Yeah, I think so. From the beginning, my mom was my dance teacher, and
Mm,
so the dance studio was a very safe place for me. It was my family, obviously, and the other teachers and the other students, like that became my whole life growing up.
mm,
And then when I shifted to SAB and, moving away from home, that was the first time that there was a real shift where it was like, these people are your teachers and not anything more than that, not
mm,
support, more than professionally, in the way that like my whole life and my whole everything was given to me from dance. Um, so then that was a big shift, and particularly even more when I got into the company because these people are your coaches, your bosses, and for me, that relationship had always been more than just in the studio. So I
mm.
had to go elsewhere to find that kind of support and friendship and love and all of the things, in just community.
Yeah.
So that took a while, and it was hard. For me to adjust. I didn't really know that that's what I was feeling at the time.
Mm,
Um, but now looking back, I'm like, that's why it was so hard for me, and I felt very alone and all of these things because I was expecting more than what a normal dance teacher or boss could give you or should give you, kind
mm,
of thing.
mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think that brings up a really great point about
Hmm.
expectations, right? And when we go into new experiences with certain expectations, we want those expectations to be realistic. And I think a lot of dancers can struggle with building realistic expectations,
Hmm.
whether it's the shift from being from home to moving to a trainee program, perhaps being from trainee program to apprenticeship,
Hmm.
So I think it's interesting that one of the biggest shifts that comes to mind for you is that shift in maybe having an expectation that was either unmet or just needed to be shifted,
Yeah.
right?
It needed to be shifted. And also, like, what I didn't realize is so much of what my community was and my life was those friendships. And I thought that was a
Mm,
given. If you're in the space, you have this. And that's not true. Like, it's something as adults you have to work on building community and friendship. It's not just a given because you're in the building, which it
mm,
had been when I was a kid. And I think a lot of people, their dance studios are that for them. But that was a big shift, and I struggled with my mental health because of it. I struggled with being able to make friends because of it, or just feel comfortable at work. Um,
mm-hmm.
yeah, so it was a big shift. I mean, we're so young, you know, we're so young when we start dancing professionally or even leaving
Yeah.
home. And so much of this is unsaid, you know.
Mm.
You
Mm.
just dive in and you start living it and you're like, why do I feel this way? Is anyone talking about this? Like all this stuff that's like big feelings that you're kind of thinking it's just you.
Yeah, I think that raises such an important point, right? Because dancers shift. This is like the theme of the chat today, shift, the
Hmm.
word.
Yes.
They shift very early on in their
Hmm.
lives, right? In regard to going from home studio to trainee program
Hmm.
to professional career. All of this happens at a relatively very young age where dancers are barely, matured into adulthood, right?
Yeah.
And those friendships that are formulated from childhood to adolescence to teenage years through adulthood also move and shift and become very fluid. And I think it can be very hard for younger dancers to also experience those changes,
Hmm.
right? And then when you're in a trainee program where you're dorming and being with these dancers 24/7, that can also raise a lot of challenges
Absolutely.
with your social
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, because it's also like, well, to your point of this, like from adolescence to
Yeah.
trainee to apprentice to, it happens so fast too. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
right when you adjust to the new normal, maybe 1 to 2 years, that normal changes again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have to start over in a way, you know, you probably have more skills than what you did when you started the program, but still it's a new shift. And
Yeah.
another thing that is a huge part of it is as much as these people are our friends, which they are, and they're our only friends if you're living with them and you're all this stuff, they are also your competition. And that's a really complex emotional relationship that it's hard to navigate when you're like, I love this person and they're my best friend, but also they have what I want. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just so much at once.
It's a lot, and it's a lot
Yeah,
for a teenager
totally.
to have to
Yeah.
navigate. So having resources is obviously so key here.
Hmm.
I'm curious to know, just to kind of shift the conversation a
Yeah.
bit, at what point in those years, or maybe more recently, did you connect the dots between how you were fueling your body and taking care of your body and your dancing, your performance?
Yeah. So for me, I was quite thankfully quite young, but in retrospect, I wish I had come to this realization even younger. I had struggled with an eating disorder through most of my
Mm-hmm.
time at
Mm-hmm.
SAB and my first years in the company. Um, and it didn't really affect my body negatively other than visually while I was at SAB. But when I got in the company and the workload increased so much,
Yes.
I got injured
Mm-hmm.
so much. My first 4 years in the company, really, I had the same injury every winter season
Oh,
because
yeah.
I wasn't fueling my body. I was dancing so much. And my thought at the time was, I'm not strong enough. So get stronger, do more, work out
Mm-hmm.
more, do more exercises. Um, and I just kept getting injured. And finally, after the third time I tore this tendon in my ankle, I scheduled to get surgery to
Mm-hmm.
repair it. And in that time, I was like, okay, I'm going to be out for a year. It ended up taking me 11 months from surgery date to returning to stage. But I was like, I'm going to be out for a year and I need to fix more than just my ankle. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
need to start over with my relationship to dance and my body and eating and pretty much everything. Like my
Yeah.
first in PT, I was not able to walk or weight bear for 3 months. And in that time, I had gotten myself an eating disorder therapist, and we worked
Mm.
on because it was so there was so much despair about being injured, so young. What does this mean for my career? Will my body be able to do it? And like I needed somewhere to put that energy, and so I started with this eating disorder therapist where she made me eat certain things, track my eating, all things that, are a part of that program. And it kind of allowed me to heal both things at the same time without either becoming so overwhelmingly the sole focus that it was crippling. So like I would spend like half my day with my PTs and she taught me how to walk again. We fixed my point shoes. I tried every single kind of shank that a
Mm-hmm.
Freed offers to make it better for my foot, to rebuild and start better. And then it became, the body and the fueling, and focusing on, yeah, just eating properly. Like, your body needs so much for what we're asking it to do. And honestly, learning scientifically about like cell repair and things, and learning exactly, you need proteins in this for repair, and having that information, really helped me stick to it.
Yeah.
Because it's fact, it's not subjective, it's not, oh, but you don't need that, it's everyone needs this.
Yeah.
For basic living. So that time I was really diligent with myself, and it was really hard, but I'm so grateful for it, because since then things, like knock on wood, but like all of those repeat injuries and how tired I would feel and everything is gone. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
First of all, Emily, I give you so much credit for sharing your story, sharing this vulnerability, because this is what dancers need to hear. The
Totally.
amount of dancers that I work with on a daily basis who are at various points in their recovery journey, and that goes even as much as to not yet even recognizing that they need to intervene on disordered eating, right? Yeah. So thank you for sharing that vulnerability. And also, I just want, for all of the dancers who are going to eventually listen now and eventually listen to this chat, I do want to really, the big takeaway here is that, Emily, you are you're dancing. You're fully dancing. You are living your professional career, and you went nearly a year without being in the studio, and putting your recovery, both your mindset recovery and your physical injury recovery, at the forefront of your mind.
It was
incredible.
I mean, I'm not going to underestimate, like, I'm not going to downplay how hard it was, because, I was 22 and I should be dancing every day with my friends. And I thought, my body's going to look different. And is that going to be okay? Like, there was that anxiety the whole time. And like, I might not be the person, might not look like the person they hired. And what's that going to do to my career? And is that going to be a problem? But I think for me, it's just like, unfortunately, it had to get to a point where I literally couldn't do my job in order for me to be like, yeah, but if you keep going this way, you won't even be able to dance. So what's worse, not being able to dance, or maybe looking a little different? And here's the thing, I'm 10 years later and I'm still here.
100%. And thriving, right, in your career, in your dance career. And what a beautiful take-home message, because 100%, we can't underestimate the challenge of having to move through the recovery process. And unfortunately, a lot of dancers do come to that point. But then also honing in on, and this is why I do these conversations, is honing in on the ability for prevention. And even if you've gone through the recovery process, understanding the role of food and adequate fueling for preventing future the chronic injuries that you experience. So this is all such incredible, insightful information. Emily, I am curious to hear now, in your, where you're at right now, 10 years later, what are some of the most important connections that you continue to make with fueling your body? Like any pre-performance rituals that you love, or post-performance, anything fun like that?
With fueling my body, I've learned, and through trial and error, is that consistency. It's like, the thing that's hard about dancing is sometimes after a really hard workout, rehearsal, workout, class, you don't want to eat. You're not hungry yet, but that's your time to eat. And it's like, for me, it's been finding nutritious food or snacks, hard-boiled eggs, like things like that, like I can eat, and it's not, so that I'm not in a deficit at the end of the day, because then you wake up the next day and you feel awful. And you're like, how do I do it again? How do I possibly do this all over again? With us, we perform 6 days a week. So for me, it's the consistency. It's really like, anytime I get a break, there's a snack of some sort. If I don't have time for a lunch or a meal, then it's just snacks all day. And then at the end of the day, I'm lucky because my husband's also a dancer with the company. And so we're kind of in it together in that way. At the end of the day, we're like, I need something nutritious, quick, not going to upset my stomach, so we can go to bed, so thankfully I have a partner in that where, you
Yes.
know, it keeps us both on track, being like, oh, I wouldn't eat just that. Like you should eat something else or more or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But pre-performance ritual, I don't really have many, but our days are can be super chaotic. Like sometimes you rehearse right until 2 hours before the show or even closer, and then you might be first ballet. So then there's no time. But for me, what I really have found is that I make a cup of tea,
Mm.
like no matter what.
Hmm.
Um, and while I'm doing my makeup, just like slowing down. I'm having tea right now, but just like slowing down
I
and
am too,
like
actually.
having the tea and like it's hydrating. It might be caffeinated depending. Um, so I'll have that and a snack while I'm doing my makeup. And then I'm like, okay, we've calmed down just like 10% from the rush of the day to be able to start over and refocus.
The big thing here that I'm hearing, consistency. Consistency
Mm-hmm.
is key. I can scream it from the rooftops, but you are right. If a dancer is not being proactive about getting in those meals and snacks, especially when not feeling hungry, because like you
Yeah.
said, we're busy, we're active. That's the reality.
Yeah.
We're going to feel the deficit. We're going to feel the deficit the next day. You're going to feel the deficit eventually at that performance, and it builds. That deficit
Yeah.
just gets deeper, deeper, deeper. So consistency is so important. Emily, I do want to ask you one final question
Okay.
because I know that we're a little bit in a time
Yeah.
crunch. But how would you, and you've given us such beautiful insight already on this, I would love to hear how you would answer the question of how would you redefine what it means to be the healthy dancer?
Okay. Big question. For me, I think that what I've learned, you know, I've been with the company now for 15 years, and I've learned that, you know, there's been times where I've been at my most physically strong, but mentally weak, and vice
Mm,
versa, mentally so strong and physically not my best. And the thing that has, I think, made me, when I feel my healthiest and when I feel my best and what I'm striving for, is that balance of mental strength and physical strength, and not throwing all your eggs in one of those baskets and forgetting about
mm,
the other. Because this career is hard. It's hard emotionally. We're so close to it. Our body is what is criticized. It's not like we're playing an instrument, we are the instrument. So having strength mentally and physically to endure that without it making it shake your confidence or, you know, make you shrink back from what you want to achieve, has been the most important for me. And it's not easy. It's not perfect. I'm not there, but I work on that every day. Is like as much energy I put into my training physically, I try to put into my mental health,
yeah.
um, as well, to be strong and confident and to be able to have relationships with the people that I also am in competition with. And it's hard, but yeah, I would say that that is worth pursuing,
Yeah.
worth working on, because it opens up a joy that you are, no matter the situation, you get to feel like you're dancing your best, you feel your best mentally. There's no anguish or despair over mistakes or things like this. It's like it's worth working towards, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's what that means to me.
Um, yeah. Beautiful, because I really love understanding that those two big aspects, mental and physical well-being, are
Hmm.
integrated, right? And we have to consider both. And just to tie into one thing you said earlier that I really want to leave our listeners off with is that it's okay to seek support,
Yes.
just as you did when you were in
Hmm.
your most challenging time, right? And that there are support resources, mental health therapists, dietitians like
Hmm.
myself, physical therapists that really are, and now even just where we're at now, there's a lot of dance specialized clinicians.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of resources out there, and I love hearing that you took advantage of those resources when you need them
Yeah.
most. But Emily, thank you so much. It was
Thank
such
you
a
for
pleasure to
having
connect.
me.
Yes,
Yeah.